Good afternoon, my friends. Or at least, let me see, is it afternoon? No, it's 11:58 a.m., so it's not quite afternoon yet. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. And, I've had a lot on my mind lately, as usual, so I thought I would sit down in front of the camera, talk to the lens, talk to my people. And, yes, I consider you my people because you're willing to listen to me. And the fact that you want to hear what I have to say is still to this day a little bit shocking to me, I guess. Not shocking so much as just so many people in this world want to be heard. And those who are, let's say, really well known and famous, they can say one thing and everybody hears them. Others who maybe have something really important to say, maybe have no voice whatsoever. And then there's the internet, YouTube, what the internet has brought to the world, people like myself being able to share my ideas and find people who are similar minded or at least interested in hearing these things. And it's sometimes I step back and I say, wait a minute, I'm taking this, I can't take this for granted, the ability to share my thoughts and to be coherent enough to speak. And so let me just go step back and maybe define where I'm coming from here. I've grown a lot in my life mentally in the last few years. And I thought maybe 5 years ago I knew more than I, did. Well, 5 years before that, and 5 years before that, and so on back until I was a teenager or around 20 years old, where I remember I had this feeling that something was going to be important in my life, that I was going to play a major role in some post-apocalyptic event or be a leader or somehow assist the people. It was this feeling I had that I had a purpose in this world, okay? And when I was hanging out at this coffee place with some of my hippie friends, and I was about 19 or so, I remember saying that to an older guy. I think he was maybe older to me, probably in his 30s or 40ish. And I remember saying, just that. I said, I just have this feeling inside that something big is going to happen in my lifetime, and that I'm going to be a part of that. And he just laughed, and it's strange, those moments in life that stand out to you. You may forget everything else, but there's those moments. And it was one of those times. And he just kind of laughs and said, yeah, we all feel that way. And it was an epiphany for me to realize how many people had this feeling within them that they had an important role to play in this world. And so with my youthful arrogance, I would often speak about how the shit's going to hit the fan, something's going to happen on the earth, whatever it may be, whether it's government or war or a solar flare. And I was into these things back in the late 90s. So this is when I first got into I read Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper and learned about all the conspiracies that were going on and all the lies and the delusion and the illusions of life. And I fell into this kind of conspiracy realm. But it taught me a lot about what I was really looking for. In other words, the obsession with conspiracies and a disastrous future, let's say, rather than a utopian future. It was utopian in its own right. In other words, a lot of people want the world to fall apart because their own lives are so unmanageable and they don't want to deal with the system that we have in place. So a lot of folks figure they're going to do their best when everything else falls apart so they can help lead people to a better way of living. Now, all that sounds very arrogant, and it is. And that's what I realized over the years, that who am I to think that I have any part whatsoever in a better future for people? I'm just some guy. I used to think I was quite smart. Looking back at my poetry in my teen and 20s, I was like, wow, I'm using words that don't even exist or spelling words wrong that I thought were correct. And trying to sound smarter than I was as a kid. And so as I look back and laughed at myself, now I I'm a little more cautious about what I say. And even though I have upwards of 4,000 YouTube videos or 3,500 YouTube videos, even though I may speak like an authority on certain subjects, you'll notice I always leave things open-ended and say, well, nobody's quite sure, and we don't know how this will turn out. I mean, I don't have any really solid facts to say this is how the future is going to turn out, but a lot of folks do, and the reason I don't is because of that. because of the fact that I've seen so many people make failed predictions, failed prophecies, making up a disastrous, chaotic future, and it's just next year this is going to happen. Next year everything's going to fall apart. And meanwhile, we all have to live our lives. We all have to exist and function and make enough money to live and to support our families and whatnot. So, in other words, you got to be aware that anything can happen, but you got to let go of it too. So, over the past decade or two, at least in the last 15 years, I've grown more humble in my awareness of who I am and my limitations, and realized that I'm not as smart as I thought I was, and that I have my own wisdom, my own awareness that I can share with other people, but I have to do it in a way that isn't condescending, that isn't spiteful, that isn't arrogant, while at the same time carrying a self-assurity that people must have in order to be taken seriously. And what I mean by that is, one person who's making a lot of bold claims without evidence, others may point the finger and say, you really shouldn't make bold claims without evidence. Pretty self-explanatory. Whereas another person may be so concerned about saying the wrong thing that they refuse to make any claims, they refuse to have any opinions, any value judgments, any morals. It's one of those, well, we can't be sure. And this kind of attitude has led us to a small group of people out there that I've spoken with who truly have got to the point where, well, the news is all fake, and reality is all fake. We're living in multiple dimensions, and there's this, what is it called, the Mandela effect, and how we're always switching realities. This whole mindset that reality isn't real is an escape from reality. It's almost a religious view in itself, and it's nothing new. It's not like we discovered all of a sudden that nothing has meaning, and now nothing really matters, it's all an illusion. This goes back to Descartes, who, after all his philosophy says cogito ergo sum, which is I think therefore I am, which just means it's the only thing that people can know for sure. So therefore people they create their own realities within their head. And what I'm getting at here is that it's okay to have a little escapism and to try to create our own reality and our own version of what's going on. But I believe firmly that we have to agree on some sort of an objective reality. And I think that we have, as much as we don't want to admit it, that even the people that claim everything's an illusion, they still, log on to the internet and use their telephone and their computer the same way as everyone else. They're still pretty sure that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. And like they say, the only things we can be sure about is death and taxes, right? Well, it seems to be the case. And so overcoming our fears is a major crucial element. When I made the video about stress the other day, I realized that so much of our stress, comes from our internal angst and confusion about who we are and who we want to be. So that person I wanted to be, that person who I said, I'm going to change the world, or I'm going to lead people, or be some part of some major change. Perhaps instead of waiting for that to happen, I've realized that I'm already there. That I can make a video here and I can speak to a few hundred people that are willing to listen. And even if one person a month says, man, your video really helped me out through a bad time, and I've had a couple people even send me emails saying that they were, that my video helped them think their way out of suicide. I mean, that kind of stuff really hits home. I feel like I've already done my job. If I can help one person, even if what I'm saying is I'm not completely sure about, the facts behind it. And that's what I'm getting at. Nobody can be totally sure, but we still have to share these ideas with one another. And especially the idea that you are good enough, you're a valuable commodity to yourself and to others. And that looking down on ourselves or putting ourselves down is much worse than being arrogant. That arrogance can lead us to, I guess, being self-assured about ourselves is different than being an arrogant jerk. But I would just like to see more people self-confident without becoming self-righteous. And maybe that's a pipe dream, but, there are plenty of them out there. If we don't have some hope then the best we can do is, I guess all we can do as individuals is try to share what we know and try to be as honest as possible and hope that the right voices are heard by the right people. And I've realized, of course, that a lot of folks don't want to hear truth. They don't want to hear any type of alternative theory of what they believe to be true. They don't even want to have a discussion about it. And so, as to what to do about those people, it's not worth trying to change other people's minds. That's not our job. Our job is to plant seeds in each other's minds. And if those seeds are good, good seeds, then they will, foster and promote and be fertilized, and they will sprout, vegetation, if you will. And so I guess that's all I wanted to just kind of say, that each one of us have something to say. Have some power behind your thoughts and your opinions, and feel your own strength as an individual. All of the motivational videos you could watch in the world aren't going to change your opinion of yourself if you don't really believe it. And I want people to know that I have a kind of a bad self-image in a lot of ways, a lot of things I'd like to change in my life. So you're not alone. And a lot of people won't admit that to you. A lot of people who, like myself, sit at you behind a camera and say, talk about life and everything. You may think, I know not you, but some may think that my life is just dandy, that everything's fine, and I'm a YouTuber and life's grand. Dude, I struggle to make money. I struggle to find my truth and my future, my purpose. I have so many different hobbies and interests and things that I want to do, but I can't seem to focus on one thing. So I'm working on, by observing others and listening to their opinions, I'm learning how to work on the things I need to work on, while at the same time sharing the opinions and ideas that I have about things that have worked for me, such as letting go of other people's opinions and having a purpose and believing that you are worthy as a human. So, thanks for listening. I'll talk to y'all soon, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Be well.